Hello, welcome back to Blender Sushi Live Noding. Today I'm gonna show you how you can create, you can randomize like a materials into many objects in Blender using nodes, and I will be using animation nodes. So this is what I have. This is a scene I have, basically a single frame of the flamenco dancer that I made earlier. I think I have to kind of bake this first, this animation nodes, and I think I'll have to try to unlink this first. So nodes, advanced nodes, unlink instance from the node. So I have two instance object here that I need to unlink, so I can safely delete everything here. So I can delete the master objects. Now we just end up with this character. This is, of course, let me save this first as well. File. Oh, I already saved it. Saved to the wrong file. BVH dummy color. I'll just name it colorful. So this coloring, of course, comes from Blender default. If you're enabling it on under matcap and then under random, so you can have like a material, object, vertex color. Random is one that I really like because it gives you random color for every object. I have around, how many objects here? 108 objects. Each has different color, but the coloring is only like for preview. You cannot really render this out unless you render the preview. So how do we go about doing that? So let's actually start with something. I'll turn off the auto random color, so just a matcap, and then I'll create a couple of materials, give it a color. Cannot see the color because we need to, I think we need to just switch to this view. Okay. Let's create a couple more material. Create new material, give it color green, delete this one, give a color blue, so we can really distinguish the material color. So we want to randomly assign this into these guys. So you can of course do it manually, but like randomly select the objects, and then you choose the materials, and then you Control L and then link the materials. So that kind of will work, but you have to do that many times. That's not fun. So let's try doing it with animation nodes. So randomize materials. You can actually use Python script to do this as well. I might supply you with something similar, like the Python script should select, should look at into the collections. So this one is already grouped, right? And then from that group, just pick like a random 10 or random 20 objects and then give it a material, something like that. That will work. But let's see how we can do this using animation nodes. So material, if we search for material nodes, we have a couple of nodes. The one that I'm interested in is the material output. Actually, material input rather, and material object material output. Okay, so this one to kind of make changes into the material. This one, material input, is interesting, but there is another one. Create material list or combine material list. Actually, create material list should be fine. So this will make a list. So kind of like if you're plugging this guy into this guy, so we don't need that. We just select our material. So our three materials, select it, put into a list, and we want to grab our objects, which is from the collections. I think we can select object by collection by name, animation nodes object container. This should give you the list. or even better, to keep it simple, let's just get selected objects. So if we select a bunch of objects, this guy will appear here on the list. We can look at it using the viewer. See? So if I select only one object, it gives me back that one object. If I select a bunch of objects, hit the arrow, so it updates, it's gonna give me a bunch of objects. Okay, so that's been taken care of. And we can now use like something like loop. So we're gonna select a bunch of objects and then apply materials into that object. So it's really that simple, that first part. So select a bunch of objects, hit W, loop through selected objects. So we're gonna use loop, and for each object we're gonna give it a material. Material will be from this list. So we're gonna bring this list into the loop, create a material list, and we plug in this list, and then we simply connect that material. So whatever objects we select, and if we update, it's gonna be given that material. It's not selected randomly yet, but we are getting somewhere. So save this. So material is plugged into this. So this one have multiple materials. We only need a single material, but in our case, we simply actually just need like a random list of materials that we're gonna apply into the objects. So that's probably easier to understand. So for each object, we have material list. So we need some kind of randomization. So get random list elements. So that should be useful. We only need one and a single. And we just actually plug this into the list, and we have the seed plug into this guy. So the loop will iterate. It will loop many times depending on how many objects we have, and it's gonna pick a random material based on this list, and it's gonna give us an output. Let's look at the output. So material list. The output is going to be material list as well, but not 3 materials, but it's many materials that we can then apply into the objects. So as you can see, if I have a single object, it's going to give us material number 1. If I have multiple objects, so I have 6 objects selected, it's going to give me 6 material. It's randomly picking the material. So I can randomize the seed, and it's going to change as well. So it's kind of like already cleverly doing something for us. So this is the first loop, and the second loop is really simply by using the object material output. So we want to again go over the selected objects. So another loop, and this time we want to use the material. So material is up there. It's gonna loop together with the objects, and it's gonna apply the material. So it's really that simple. Okay, so we don't need this cube anymore, but I'm just gonna keep it. So what's gonna happen now, if I select all these objects and then update, select all, update with the arrow. So I have this bunch of lists that animation nodes created, and then it simply applied the material randomly into our objects. These objects need to be separate objects, and this is why Blender kind of slow on my Mac, because I don't have like a good GPU on the MacBook Pro, but the CPU is pretty good. So I'm pretty sure there's a way so we can look at the color from here, but we don't need to go to EV, but EV is actually faster. Yep. So imagine if we have another material color. Oh, before we do that, we can actually randomize the color as well. Select all these objects, and then randomize the seed, so we can really randomize the material assignment to our objects. So that's really simple actually. That's what I want to teach you guys. Create another materials, give it a new color. So now we have 4 material that we can use as input. The updates can be, we can turn on always and then randomize the seed. Oh, okay, I know. Select this guy and apply it. So we have 4 color now assigned into this, into our objects. We can yeah, I think that's actually basically the idea. It's a really pretty basic, but still pretty interesting, because now you can export it out, and the sculpture has now random color. Yeah, it's very simple, but once you understand this, perhaps it's not just material that you want to apply into each object. Maybe you have some kind of functions that you want to apply. This is one way you can do it. So random function assignment into many objects. All right, so hopefully this is useful. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.